Stories from the Red Couch, episode 14. I'm Robin Cook, and today I've got Kate Rose with me as my guest, and Kate's dog Rex, who you can't see now because he's calmed down.
We'll leave him there.
He's very energetic, isn't he?
Oh, yes.
There's a hell of a lot of enthusiasm in one bundle of dog.
There's one bundle of very excitable golden
He's
fluff.
so beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, big golden retriever. Golden
Labrador retriever. That's the American variety, actually, because they're slightly bigger in the face and the shoulders.
He is quite large.
And, yes, he's only 2, so I get a lot of interested people going, he's what? He's only 2?
Yeah.
He's enormous. I'm like, yes, he is.
Yeah, that's exciting. So, Kate, you've just recently moved onto a macadamia farm and been discharged from the army. I mean, that's a massive transition.
Yes.
How have you managed that transition?
That was a great deal of wow. I can't even put it into words because it just seemed to be like a roller coaster. It just started to happen and it just kept happening, and before I knew it, I was there and yeah. So I mean, last year was the year I realised I was getting discharged medically, and I had to look for something else to take my life forward. So I loved horticulture, I love trees, I love gardening, I love outdoors, and I just thought I'm going to put all that together into something that I want to do rather than something I have to do to survive. I decided that the rest of my life was going to be my life, something I wanted to live. I did a horticulture course in Townsville where I was prior to coming here, or to Gympie, which is where the farm is, and that led me to start looking for the right enterprise, the right business or property, and I came down to the Sunshine Coast purely because I wanted the soil to be right.
Yes.
So everything, I mean, when we hear about people buying houses and building houses, they always talk about, or selling houses, it's always location, location, location. Well, it was the same thing for the business, but the soil was the prominent thing. It had to be the right soil in the right location. So once I got that organised in my head, then I knew I was looking in the right area, and I happened to be driving up the Bruce High one day, drove past this farm. I was on my way to see another property and thought, oh, I'll come back and see this farm on the way home. Came back by it and just fell in love. And I just knew straight away. I just went, that's it.
Isn't that incredible how that happens?
Yes.
Where there's a connection there that happens immediately.
Yes, it was. It was a very strong connection, and I actually had to pinch myself to think I was feeling it correctly. So I went and dragged my girlfriend up to Gympie and said, I need to show you this. Come on and come and see. And valuing her opinion. So once I got that a tick of approval from her, I knew that it was right.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. So that's how I came down from Townsville to Gympie, and spent quite a lot of time planning my exit. So my exit strategy was to become a farmer.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. And I guess that when you've been in, I was going to say chaotic, but stressful and regulated, and I can't even begin to imagine the intense pressure of what you've been doing, and then to come into a farming situation where you're able to get your hands in the dirt, breathe the fresh air, have the sun and the wind. Yeah. It must be very therapeutic.
It has been, and the irony of the whole point of being there was that I decided to create my own blog and do a healing help from the farm, journey into a new life of healing help from the farm is what I labelled it. And the farm's called Borpal Park, obviously because Borpal is the indigenous word for macadamia.
Yes, Borpal.
There's a few, but I chose Borpal as the most logical one for me, and called the farm Borpal Park. So I think the stress of discharging from the army, I'm also getting divorced, which was a really big event as well, that happened at the same time as discharging. Moving from one end of the state to the other and not knowing the true extent of how that was going to come about.
Yes.
I'm going with good feelings and thinking this is going to work, everything's going to be fine, and being positive. But at the end of it, knowing that the big dark secret was that I had to actually confront my PTSD before I could truly throw myself into the farming. So you'd be working away all day, and you may have similar experiences of you're doing things that you enjoy, but lurking in the back of your mind is this, you're going to have to go and do that.
Yes.
And that was the big bad apple that was plaguing me for 6 months. So that's all over now.
Okay.
Yes.
So is that something that, so you said you've got PTSD, and I just wonder, is that something that comes on gradually, or was it something that you wondered about? How did you come to the realization that, okay, this is something that I have to deal with this? How does that happen?
It's something that just creeps up on you, unfortunately, or it did for me, and I didn't acknowledge it. I knew there was something wrong, but I wasn't prepared to admit it completely to myself.
Yes.
So I was in denial. And post my deployment to Iraq in 2004, and I came back from that, and I was a mess. I didn't know. I did know, I just couldn't remember how to do things, and that made me feel even more insecure and useless and worthless, and it becomes a vicious circle, and you just keep going down and down and down. And but from 2004, it took me a couple of years to seek help in a way that I was kind of saying, look, I need to know, but I don't want to know.
Yeah.
And once I kind of got the word, I was like, right, I don't know if I really want to acknowledge this. I don't know what to do about it. I think it was probably worse knowing than not knowing, in a way.
Okay.
So I went on for the next 6 to 8 years trying to avoid it, but it didn't go away.
And so once you established that, okay, well, this is it, I can't avoid it any longer, what steps did you take to work your way through it?
It kind of manifested itself as a nasty boil, and it didn't go away until I was prepared to lance it, really.
Okay.
So all that pain and swelling and suffering you get with an infection kind of like just festers away, and then you have to really address it. You have to. It's that I don't have any other way to try and explain that other than eventually the medical profession within the army and I came to an understanding that yes, it is something I can't avoid, and I do need to address it. And then compounding factors as well, other major stresses in life make that particular area of trauma worse. So the basis of PTSD, from what I have learnt from my course, which I did here at the Butterham Private Hospital on the Sunshine Coast, is that you have symptom clusters, and they're basically anxiety, depression, sleep disorders, addictions, and anger. And when I sort of looked at that, I went, uh-oh, tick, 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 tick.
Yeah.
And that was a really shocking moment because I really had to confront it.
Yes.
There was no way I was going to get away from it.
Yes.
And until I actually confronted it, and I was able to think, oh, I've had that one for a while, I've had that one for a long time, not so much this one, but wow, the anger was something that I could really see as a problem. And for my sake, my children's sake, that's when I sought help in a way that I knew I had to get something done.
And Rex is part of this, isn't he?
Yeah, we won't say his name too loud because he might jump up on us in the middle of this.
This
here
is
we
quite
go.
true.
Yes, and he's just...
And
yes,
there he is.
there you are.
Oh,
okay.
sorry.
So Rex is a training assistance dog. Yeah, it's all right, babe. Mum's all right. And he's only 2.
Yes.
And just as I say,
Yes.
on cue.
On cue. Sorry, Rex.
On
That's my
cue.
fault.
Yeah,
And we've
so-
got a storm. If you hadn't heard, there's actually a storm
There is
around here.
There's a storm, and he doesn't
And-
like the thunder.
And we all know what it's like for dogs, particularly this beautiful
He's got to come up and say hello. What a perfect timing alive, eh? Yeah, He's very affectionate.
lovely
Dave's
is
saying,
this?
I want to get down. You're going to come and sit down? Come on, sit down. Sit down. So he came along when he was, well, at three weeks in Townsville. I went to meet the breeder, fell in love with him, came back and picked him up at 8 weeks. And
I can't imagine that he was ever really very tiny.
oh yes,
Was he
he
tiny?
he was small, and he was in Townsville with me on my last posting, and he kind of saved me,
Good on you,
didn't you,
Rex.
mate? Yeah.
Well done.
And we had some very dark moments in Townsville,
Yes.
and
But
yeah.
I think that when you've got a dog like this, who they are just completely unconditional in their love
oh, without a doubt.
and their acceptance and full of joy, aren't they? Even when their tongues are hanging out and they're dribbling.
yes,
Yes.
he's very lovable. Come on, just lay down.
Very good.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
And so, what's it like to live after all of this time when you've been doing all of these quite significant things in your life? What's it like now to live on a farm?
The farm is my sanctuary.
Yes.
And we're sitting on a porch here with a beautiful greenery around us, and very similar, but you know, I've got rolling orchards in front of me on
Beautiful.
my porch, and slopes that are just covered in beautiful green grass, and very inviting cool dams that I do go swimming in.
Yes.
And so does Rex every day. The tranquility of the place has been my saviour, and I sit there and I look out onto this vista, and I just think, wow, what a difference.
Yeah.
How much better my mindset is
As a result of being
as
in
a result
yeah.
of having both him and now having been through, I mean, he wasn't in training when I was in Townsville, but he was there every day for me.
Yes.
So he's only been in training as an assistance dog for about 3 months now,
Okay.
but
Hence his learner.
he's got little L plates.
He's got
on his
little L
jacket.
plates.
Yeah,
It's very. I don't know
so
if you can see
cute.
this, but there's L plates.
There's
It's
little L
very
plates.
cute.
So just to come home from the work when things were really tough,
Yeah.
to know that he was there, and yeah,
It's a good thing.
and him being on the farm, wow, he just loves it.
I bet he does.
Oh,
So,
his farm. It's not my farm. It's
what's his favourite thing to do?
bark at the foxes at night, which is a
Okay.
great comfort because I know that no one's going to get anywhere near me with him around.
Yes.
And he can smell them. You know, he can
Yeah.
smell the foxes and the wild dogs. And I think he just loves you more than me at the moment. Hey, and you're a little bit of a show pony.
He
aren't
is a
you?
show pony. He's
Yeah?
taking centre stage
You're going to be
here.
centre stage, maybe,
Yes.
huh? You want to get down? Oh no, such a hard life, isn't it?
So foxes,
Foxes.
ducks. Have you got ducks?
Yeah, but actually he's really good with birds
Okay.
because he's been brought up with birds. I've got a lot of ring-neck parrots at home.
Oh, nice.
And budgies and chickens, and so he's actually really good. Sorry, we're gonna have a cuddle. Okay, you really want some ratings to go up on this
Yeah,
TV,
yeah.
don't you? So we've got 9 chickens now, 10?
So
10 chickens, sorry, 1 rooster.
Oh yes.
Oh, we love that rooster.
Yes.
Yeah,
Is that
4:30
like
in the morning.
That's a knot. You don't.
I
love
don't
the
love
rooster.
my rooster. 4:30 in the morning. But his name's John Wayne. And he's got some competition. Only Rex can strut more than John Wayne. So the 2 boys on the farm strut their stuff.
That's beautiful.
The ducks are the wood ducks are really getting quite tame. They're coming up to the cottage to be fed with the chickens in the morning, which is quite cute.
That's beautiful.
I know, and he takes no attention to them at all.
It's amazing.
He just
'cause,
wanders around and
Yeah.
bypasses the other animals as if they're like, oh well, you know,
it's just part of the team.
yeah, the big family.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's lovely. And tell me about your farming practices that you're running now.
Well, the main one I'm doing is called Korean natural farming.
Okay.
Now this is the basis of it is to farm microorganisms. He's going to get down there. Good boy. Come on, sit down. So everybody or most people have heard about probiotics and antibiotics and
Yes.
things. Well, there's not much difference than that between our stomachs and the soil, really. So soils have a great amount of biotic in them, bacteria and microorganisms and fungi. And if you didn't have the right balance, the soil would be sick. Very similar to what your guts do.
It's totally the same.
Exactly. So my plan is to correct the soil health first, and that in itself, quid pro quo, will correct the tree health. And I'm basically farming microorganisms,
Yeah.
and then I inoculate the soil with those microorganisms once they've gone on to inoculate a batch of soil, which then goes on to inoculate a batch of manure. So you then get this large batch of maybe 80 to 100 kilos of stuff, which is laced with microbes. And you take a handful at a time and say, here, tree,
Yes,
have that.
eat that.
And you just chuck it underneath the tree and then let the rain do the rest.
Yes,
So as
yeah.
the water hits it, the microbes come to life and they just burrow down into the soil,
And do
attach
their
themselves to the roots, and then Mother Nature, it's just completely
It's
natural.
astonishing, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
So
it's-
you asked before what the kitchen garden teacher was all
Yes.
about. Well, just briefly, because it's not about me.
Yeah.
It's never about me. But what I used to say to the children as I was teaching them was that we are growers of soil,
Yes.
and the soil grows the plants.
That's right.
And
yeah.
that's how our relationship with our gardens always were.
Right. Well, that's pretty much my 3-year plan on the farm, is to get the soil health improved so that the trees improve, so that the yield improves. And in the space of 9 months, we've put 3 lots of inoculant out.
Yep.
And I'm working on one orchard and not another, so that I can take soil samples from one orchard, not the other.
Great idea.
And compare the two, so that
idea.
I've got some scientific data to actually back up my practice with.
Yeah.
And just today, this morning, I was trudging around the orchard getting leaf samples from this one orchard that's had the inoculant, because it will show through the leaf material, it will show the health of that tree through its leaf first, and then I will take soil samples as well. So it's going to be very interesting. I have to do this once every year for 3 years, so I can get a benchmark every year. Yeah.
That's a great idea. And harvesting it starts in February, I think.
February,
for-
March, yeah, dependent on the weather.
Yeah.
As it's raining here
I know,
right now.
yeah, it's raining.
The main harvest will start February, March, and goes through as long as the farmer wishes to continue picking up nuts. So I came to the farm in March, and the owner and I started in March, and we were picking up nut pretty much straight away.
And where do your nuts go to?
Well, there's a number of factories in Queensland and New South Wales. The main processing plant for the farm I'm on is in Gympie, so I'll give a plug. Some Suncoast Gold. There you go.
Oh yeah, Suncoast Gold, absolutely.
Suncoast Gold macadamias.
Yay.
There you go.
Yeah, you go. Team.
There's also Nutworks at Yandina.
Yes.
And there's also plants down in Lismore, Nambucca Heads, and there's some up in Bundaberg as well. But for me, being in the centre of it, it will be Suncoast Gold and Yandina Nutworks. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Fabulous. And so, I mean, if you're not, there's always jobs to be done on a farm, aren't there? I mean, seriously.
Oh,
it just
I've been
doesn't stop,
amazed
does it?
at. Well, ironically, the work's only there if you wish to acknowledge to do it.
Okay.
Honestly, the work is there, but if you turn a blind eye to it, then the work's not there.
Of
Anyway.
course.
But
It's a bit like my housework. Kate.
Yeah, it's
That's
kind of
how
like-
my house lives.
so I like to think that there's some good things that have come out of being in the army. Okay, we talk about bad things with PTSD, but not all of my PTSD trauma is army based. So it's referred to as complex PTSD,
Okay.
because you have more than one trauma, so more than one apex trauma, which is unfortunate, but it is the case. And one of the good things that's come out of the army is the ability to manage. So to manage staff and time and resources and things like that
Yes.
in a very thorough way.
Yes.
So to my own detriment, I am busy because I'm forever making myself to-do lists. So yeah, I do have a lot to do.
Yeah.
It's
What
just
have you?
whether I get to do them or not.
Yeah. What have you got on this week then?
I just had 25 tonnes of compost delivered yesterday.
Yum.
So that was a very big event, because not for the fact that it's compost, but the truck that had to bring it onto the farm actually got stuck and couldn't get off, and then I had to employ a lot of sort of, you can do this, Kate, you can actually achieve an outcome here and help this man get his truck off the truck. And so I had to tow a 20-ton truck out off the farm with my tractor yesterday, which was quite an amusing
well done
thing. And we got a video of it too, which was good. The driver was videoing it from his side. I videoed him dumping the compost on the first, and then he videoed me towing him out with my tractor at the other end. And so we both had a big giggle when we got the truck out.
Yes.
And met various, it was good. So that was one big event yesterday, which means that compost has now got to get put under the trees.
Yeah, of course.
So it's a case of the profile of the farm in the rows. If you understand that, if the tree is sitting directly in the middle of the profile and it drops like that, what you get is erosion. So you get a lot of water running down the row. So the idea is you have to build the profile back up, and that's the process that I'm working on at the moment.
Okay.
That's going to take a lot of work and blood, sweat, and tears.
How many trees do you have?
1,800 at the moment.
1,800.
Yes, 7 hectares under orchard.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's quite a lot.
Pests?
We have them, yes.
Excellent.
What do you want to know about pests? No, that's not you, darling boy.
Oh, he responded to that.
He did, yeah. He said,
you don't call him a pest,
No, I
do
don't
you?
call him a pest. No, he's a beautiful boy.
Yeah.
Pests. We have 3 main pests on the farm for the area, because obviously the macadamia flower and fruit get its pests depending on where it is in the country. So for that region, macadamia flower caterpillar, when the flowers are out, is the main pest at that time of year, and that will destroy the flowers. You just get a beautiful raceme of flowers one day, it'll be like all brown and frass and ruined the next day. And then there is the fruit spotting bug, which is actually the main pest at the moment.
Yes.
And luckily we've had some good reports back from the agronomy department to say that actually that's in good condition at the moment. We do have to spray for them though. And the last pest is the nut borer, which will come around January, February. I've just released, or put out into the orchard, not last night, the night before, I got a delivery of
Bugs for
trichogama.
bugs?
Yeah, Bugs for Bugs. It's called Bioresources, the company that actually supply them, and they're the impregnated cards with the trichogama wasp eggs.
Okay.
So these are the natural predators to the nut borer.
Yeah.
But you have to get ahead of the game.
Yes, of course
You have to get them out into the orchard before they turn
That's
up.
right. And then
Otherwise
there's
you've lost
that
the time.
trick of, well, if they're there and they don't have something to eat,
Yes.
are they going to die?
Well,
what's the timing around that?
They said that for southeast Queensland Gympie region, it's the beginning of December.
Okay.
So
All
I
right,
had
well,
1,000 wasp eggs were distributed around the perimeter of both orchards 2 nights ago, and that should create the sort of like boundary. And then as the next deliveries come, then I will work into the orchards and scatter them within the orchards. So the idea is you saturate the orchards with the eggs.
Yes.
And then they just do the business. So we just wait and see if that works. And they're the 3 main pests. So eventually we hope to have our own bespoke spray that will actually target predominantly the flower caterpillar first. How I develop it to be up to scale it up to be able to spray it onto the orchard in a bulk amount yet is still to be tested. So I'm working on that at the moment.
Last question. How long have you been involved in the FAN network, the Food and Agribusiness Network?
I'm a noob. I'm a total noob.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's only 2 years old, so...
Oh, well, that makes me feel even much better then. I'm a newbie. I just joined in October. I had a conference on the farm in October.
Yeah.
We did a soil workshop, and that involved various guest speakers that were invited by FAN, and getting to talk with some of the reps who run FAN. We're going to have some more workshops next year.
Brilliant.
And I hope to be able to teach people how to do Korean natural farming and make their own microbes and save their soil.
That's brilliant.
And grow beautiful trees.
Well, I might have to come along to that one, Kate.
I hope so.
Yes.
It would be good. You'd enjoy it.
Thank you so much for talking to me. Thanks for sharing your time.
That's all right.
It's been fabulous.
Thank you.
I've really enjoyed meeting you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
thank you for watching. I'm going to be talking with Elizabeth Craig Holmes next week, and we're just going to enjoy the rain. So I hope you're getting some where you are, unless of course you're a camel farmer, because we learnt the other night that
Yes.
camel farmers don't like the rain.
No.
So
No. Macadamia farmers do.
macadamia
We love the
farmers,
rain. Yeah.
So we'll just send it all there.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.